The stream.
The stream, and so it takes a minute. Let's see. Receiving content. All right, we are now.
I like streams.
Officially live on the YouTubes.
We love the YouTubes.
Love the YouTubes. Okay, let's do a Mosh camera check. There you go.
Mosh cam.
Mosh cam.
Oh, is it working? Is it on? Is it?
Yeah, local two knuckle they call you.
Is it? Oh, we're ready.
All right, there's Murf cam. Murf cam. All right, so thank you to those of you that are going to watch on the YouTube live stream here.
I missed the tree.
Bring up the chat window here. What tree? What tree do you miss?
The tree in the window.
Oh, you missed the tree in the window?
I missed the tree.
But it looks nice. So
I know. I love that.
Wait till it says Murf's Fan Cave. We have the Murf's Fan Cave.
I love that.
That's going to be cool. All right. Okay, so give folks a chance to join us here on the. There we go, live chat. There we go. Last time we did this, we only had
we had two.
We had like two people in the chat, but I think it's because people should be at like church and stuff right now.
It was raining. It was raining at
here, but we're listening to in 18 countries, Uncle Mosh.
It doesn't rain everywhere.
Because it's raining. Yeah. Oh, there's Ron. Ron's joined us.
Hi, Ron.
What's up, Ron?
What's up, Ron?
Hey, Ron, you're going to be in the Sea of Fans mailbag today, buddy. Appreciate your call.
Oh, nice.
And supporting the show as always. Okay, so we got Ron in the chat, so I think it's
time.
That's all we need. That's all we need, man. Let's go ahead and get started.
It's raining in Ohio.
You're killing me. You're absolutely killing me.
These things just pop into my head. And
all
I
right.
say
Anything else got to pop into your head?
Okay, Ron, are you ready?
Mosh, you can't talk over the intro. We're recording live. Okay, mute your damn microphone. All right, here we go.
Raiders! Turn on a flashlight, flip a light switch, strike a match, just light something on fire. Welcome to Murf's Fan Cave from the Dago Dungeon. Join me, Uncle Mosh, as we join Raiders Fan Radio, taking a lighter journey into the dark side.
Okay, we're back. Look left, look right, Bolitnikov, a leaking pass, touchdown!
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.
Intercepted by Khalil Mack. Touchdown! Raiders!
The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most zany, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play.
Well, I love this team. I think this team can win. I think this team can win.
What is up, Raider Nation? Welcome in to another fantastic episode of Raiders Fan Radio. Thank you, as always, for joining us here in Murf's Fan Cave for episode number 88 of Raiders Fan Radio. Unbelievable. Number 88. Wow.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. 88 episodes of this thing.
Who'd ever thunk it?
Who'd ever thunk it? Maybe I'd thunk it. I don't know. We're kind of in this one for the long haul. But anyway, so this is your old buddy Murf. Thank you for joining us here in Murf's Fan Cave. And I say us because I'm joined, as always, by the jet-setting Uncle Mosh. Welcome, Uncle Mosh, to Raiders Fan Radio.
It's so good to be here. I'm so glad, but I'm so glad to be home into the Dago Dungeon. I was all over the place. It was like I was representing. You
were representing because you went to two of the three division rival cities. You were in Kansas City and Denver this week.
Yeah, and I had a friend that said, "Hey, why don't you come up to Pittsburgh?" And I'm like, "No, why would I do that?"
Yeah, we need you to come to Pittsburgh, Dallas, San Francisco, and then finish it off in L.A. with a visit to Philip Rivers' house.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No. Let me think about that for a second. Okay, moving right along.
So, anyways, welcome back. We took a little time off last week from Raiders Fan Radio. Had a few things going on. Obviously, you were traveling, visiting family, and then I started a new part of Murf's Fan Cave with Mikey. I did some recording with Mikey last week.
We're going to talk about that in a minute, aren't we?
Okay, we'll talk about it in a minute.
Okay, we can talk about that in a minute.
What am I doing? What am I?
What are you doing here?
I didn't mean to host the show. My bad.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But,
Jeez.
Uncle Mosh keeping me. You know what though? I like it. You're keeping me in line to the what's this thing called?
Don't give me a script and then veer from it. Yeah. No, we got a script.
Says the theater teacher.
I got numbers and stuff.
You got numbers. You got lines. All right. But so, anyways, thank you for joining us here on the show. We got a lot to get to today. Real quick, just to give you the rundown. I remembered today to give the rundown. So what can you expect from us here today on Raiders Fan Radio? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about training camp.
Yep.
It is definitely training camp time. We had a giveaway this week. We're going to talk about what we got there. We're giving away a gift card, compliments of our buddy Jeff over at deadpiratesports.com. We're going to talk about number 88 because this is episode 88.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk about what the significance of that number is in relation to the Raiders. Then we are going to get to Sea of Fans. We're going to take some messages from some of our listeners here on Raiders Fan Radio. Then we're going to get to one of the hot topics this week in Raider Nation. The new announcer, probably going to be a little bit different of a take than what you're used to. It's been talked about quite a bit, and as usual here on Raiders Fan Radio, we're going to bring you a little bit different of a slant on the.
Well, that's what we do.
That's what we do.
We slant differently.
We slant different. Like this. We slant like this. You see us YouTubes, we slanting over here.
Okay.
Okay, and then we're going to do Return to Excellence. We're going to revisit our beloved 2000 Oakland Raiders as they take on the New York Jets. And then finally, Mosh, I've got an interview this week. Very interesting interview. Had a good time speaking with Aaron the Q-Dog Raider last week. It was our first listener interview that we did, and had so much fun we decided to do it again. Another faithful listener and supporter of Raiders Fan Radio, and our first international guest. We're going to talk to David Love, who I'm just going to refer to him as Scotland's David Love. He is now successfully representing not only the entire country of Scotland, but the entire UK. No pressure, David. Your interview better be good.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. And from what I understand, he did the interview in a kilt.
Yes, absolutely.
Now
yes.
I've done a show in a caftan, but never a kilt.
And you had to turn a fan, an up-blowing fan. It was a whole.
But it was. I know what I had.
I don't know what that means. Uncle Draft, they call you.
Uncle Draft. Yeah. No, that show's coming up.
Oh yeah, a forceful draft.
Yeah.
All right, so. I don't know what that means either. Anyway, so then we're gonna have our interview with David, and then that's it. And then we're gonna we'll be finished here in the Dago Dungeon today and Murf's Fan Cave. So a lot of show to get to today. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Okay, so I got a question for you.
Okay.
So we've been getting tons and tons of emails, and we love our emails. We love our emails and the phone calls and all that stuff.
Yes.
But over the last few weeks, things have gotten I don't know, not necessarily convoluted or mixed up or anything, but we've done some reformatting, and
yes.
You've taken just an outstanding leap of faith with all this stuff, and break that down for us a little bit. Tell us what we can expect. We've got some new stuff coming up. You've got some new adventures going on. We've just if you can kind of just tell me and tell the listeners one more time.
It is a little confusing.
What do I do?
What is this place called again?
Yeah, am I in Murf's Fan Cave or am I in the Dago Dungeon? Or am I in...
You're in both.
I am in the Dago Dungeon at Murf's Fan Cave. Or I'm at Murf's Fan Cave in the Dago Dungeon. Help me!
Okay. All right, so thank you for asking. And so it kind of breaks down like this. So, and thank you to all of you that have that care enough about our show and what we do to ask about it. So the gist of it is this: is that it was kind of a snowball thing that went on, and we get new listeners all the time. So I can definitely see where it would be confusing to kind of somebody coming in that wasn't as familiar as we've gone through this this kind of history. So anyway, so we were Raiders Fan Radio, and it was Sonny, your other nephew, and myself doing Raiders Fan Radio. And Sonny decided to move on and step away from the show, and that's when you joined us, which has been awesome to have you here in what was then the Dago Dungeon. That's what we kind of called our quote studio, our virtual studio that Sonny and I did this show together. All right, so that was the show. So it was Raiders Fan Radio. Well, if you look at the way that we're merchandised, if you look at all of our print media, if you look at our logo, if you look at a lot of things, it has the word Raiders in it. And being that it's got the word Raiders in it, in the Raiders font, frankly, we kind of ran risk of a trademark violation there.
Okay,
and
we don't want to do that.
No, and I wanted to move away from the idea of being Raiders Fan Radio in print. Okay, so
gotcha.
But I also didn't want to refer to the show as RFR because there's already another very popular podcast called Rebel Force Radio that's a Star Wars show,
right?
That they call themselves RFR. So I was like in the middle. I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? So some other opportunities, some other talks came up with other friends of ours, and I decided to do this, to make a podcast network. And so by rebranding, essentially, or coming up with the parent, we'll call it, of Murf's Fan Cave, which is where we are and where we're doing the show.
Because we are fans. We're not journalists. We're fans.
We're fans.
We're fans,
absolutely fans. And by calling it Murf's Fan Cave, that's my name. I can't trademark infringe on anybody because it's my name.
That's who you are.
That's who I am. So by doing that and creating the, quote, Fan Cave, it opened up the door for us to have more shows underneath that umbrella. So essentially, Murf's Fan Cave is a podcast network featuring this show, flagship show, Raiders Fan Radio. Now,
gotcha.
We'll call it Raiders Fan Radio all day long, but you might not see it written Raiders Fan Radio anywhere because I don't want to refer to it again and get us in trouble.
It's like in the English language.
Okay.
Okay. In the English language, there's a sentence that you can say, but you can't write.
Okay. What is it?
There are 3 twos in the English language.
You can't write that?
You can't write it. You can say it, but you can't write it.
Wow.
Yeah, because what 2 would you use?
There are 3
twos in the English language.
Oh, I got you.
Right.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
It's interesting. It's the teacher in me.
Right.
So we can call ourselves Raiders Fan Radio, but we can't print it.
We can't print it.
There it is.
So when you see us in print, it will say RFR.
RFR. There you go.
So whenever you see that, that's what you know what we're talking about. We're talking about this show. We're talking about Raiders Fan Radio. Now, it's probably a lot more than all of you wanted to know.
Am I any less confused than I was before?
Right?
No.
But that's kind of the gist of it, right? So we just, look, we don't make money doing this.
Nah.
In fact, it costs a lot of money to do this.
It does.
But we do this because we're fans, because we love the Raiders. We love podcasting. We love talking about it. We love hanging out together.
Absolutely.
And so that's the reason that we do this. So I don't want to run risk of getting sued over my hobby. Like, you know what I mean? No one golfs with running the risk of getting sued. So we're not going to podcast running the risk of getting sued. So that's what this is. So that said, all right, now I'll make it quicker and we got to move on. We got a lot of show to get to. There are 2 other shows that have now joined the network. The first one that joined us was the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz.
Right.
That is put on by the New Jersey chapter of the Black Hole. Chuck McCann is the president. He doesn't like to be referred to as a president because it's a communal thing. But by title, he's the president of the New Jersey chapter of the Black Hole. That is the fan club group that gets together on Sundays and watches Raider games. So Chuck and some of his buddies from mainly Kevin Fitzgerald from the Black Hole of New Jersey, they get together and host their podcast. Now, their podcast is interviews with other fan clubs, could be Raiders fan clubs, could be other teams' fan clubs. And in fact, very soon, they're going to go on the road to a Kansas City Chiefs bar in New York City. So this is a Chiefs bar in New York City. They're going to go into enemy territory, and they're going to have a sit-down with those fans. And actually, they're going to have some Chiefs players there as well. So,
send them my picture from Kansas City.
Oh, that'd be great. Absolutely will do. Absolutely will do. So, okay, so that was the first show. So the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz. Then the third show to join in was Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Now, some of you know who Mikey is. Mikey Raider is a longtime YouTube caster, commenter, and he's been doing this for a long, long time. Mikey and I kind of linked up through some mutual acquaintances. I ended up doing a roundtable project with him. We hit it off. Chemistry was good, and we decided to develop our own show. So Monday,
that's primarily a YouTube thing.
Yes.
Which is hilarious if you watch it. It's a crack up. I saw it for the first time the other day, and it was great. But so under Murph's Fan Cave, we're doing podcasts and on into the YouTube.
Yeah. So his channel's called On Air Nation is the name of his channel. We have our own channel. We'll have the audio versions of these things up, but we don't want to. I don't want to. If you're going to watch it, watch his channel on that.
Absolutely.
Thing. Listen to us. Watch him.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So we're going to record that live YouTube broadcast essentially, and then we present that as a podcast. So all the shows of Murph's Fan Cave will show up in one feed. So in your feed, if you subscribe to what used to be Raiders Fan Radio and now Murph's Fan Cave, all these shows will just kind of show up in your feed. And then as we add more and more, we might do a Madden game show. We might do, I don't know what we're going to do. Right now, we're kind of settled in. I got my hands full with just these three.
Sure.
So we're going to settle in with those three, and they've all been well received. The Fan Club Blitz guys are doing a great job. Gotten a lot of positive comments on that, and the stuff with Mikey just is kind of going through the roof a little bit, which I'm very thankful for. So anyway, so that's what Murph's Fan Cave is. So I hope that halfway makes sense. Just if you see Murph's Fan Cave, just know that's the podcast network, and it's got 3 shows underneath it. And you're listening to the very first one, the flagship one, and we're still going to be our main focus here, as always, and that is Raiders Fan Radio. And so, Mosh, here we go. All that said, whew,
shooey.
I know that was a lot. So now what's we'll get to here is that how you can get in touch with us about just Raiders Fan Radio.
All right, boys and girls, pay attention. You got your old Uncle Mosh here with an update. That's right. I got some stuff for you. Take out a piece of paper, a pencil, a pen. Heck, use your pocket knife and carve the info into your dashboard as you're driving down the highway. First off, you need to like us on our fan page on Facebook. That's right. Go to Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Don't forget about the Twitter. You know your old Uncle Mosh, he twits now. That's right. Go to at Raiders Fan Radio. Also, don't forget the Instagram at Raiders Fan Radio. Or what about our website? That's right, RaidersFanRadio.com. Heck, if you want to, you can even email us, show at RaidersFanRadio.com, or call us on the Raiders Fan Radio hotline, 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Don't forget Murph's Fan Cave on the YouTube, where you can get all the show links like the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz. Find all our stuff on podcast providers like Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. All right, did I hit the time limit? Good.
Good job, Uncle Mosh.
Thank you.
So, yes, definitely get in touch with us. We mentioned email quite a bit. You can email me, Murph at RaidersFanRadio.com. You can email Uncle Mosh at RaidersFanRadio.com. Get to us that way, and then you can find us all over any of your social medias. All right, so this week we had a cool giveaway. We had a little bit of a trivia contest. I asked a trivia question on our Facebook page about what was the significance of the date January 4th, 1981. Mosh, do you want to tell them what the significance of that day was?
Here's the thing. It ties into this week's broadcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So everybody's looking it up right now. Yeah. Everybody's got their phones out. They're all looking it up. But let me give you a little hint. Red Right 88.
Red Right 88, right? The famous call, or infamous, I should say,
infamous
call by the Cleveland Browns to go for it instead of kicking a game-winning field goal, to go for it and throw an attempted touchdown pass. And the Oakland Raiders, Mike Davis, picked it off in the end zone, and the Raiders went on to win the playoff game in 1981. That was their second playoff win of that season. This is the year that the Raiders went on to win the Super Bowl as the first wild card team ever to do so. They beat, let me see, check me here, Mosh. They beat the Oilers, then they beat the Browns, then they beat San Diego Chargers, and then went on to beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Is that correct?
27-10, yeah,
there
baby.
Go. All right, so that Red Right 88. So as here on Raiders Fan Radio, we always name our shows after a player or some other significant number. Well, this week it happens to be both. We'll get to the player in a second, But first, we want to get to the giveaway of the,
absolutely.
Of the trivia
absolutely.
question. Okay. So I asked the question, what was the significant date? So I got a lot of answers. Unfortunately, some of them were incorrect. And then I kind of re-asked it and then got a bunch of correct answers. And the first one that we got that was correct as far as call-ins on the show, man, this is awesome. It is our good friend, Pastor Armando Leon, pastor of the Raider Nation. And here is his message.
It's to your trivia question. The Browns attempted end zone pass play. Red, right, 88, and not a game-winning field goal in the final minute, but intercepted by the Raiders, Mike Davis. Oakland wins and advances. This is Pastor Mondo. How you doing, guys? Enjoy the day. Thank you.
You got to love Pastor Mondo.
He's the best. He's the best. So he was, when I got that message, I went back and looked. It was like episode 27 or something was the last time that we had him on. So I'm going to when I reach out to him to let him know that he won the $25 gift card to deadpiratesports.com. I'm going to invite him again to join us back here on Raiders Fan Radio. It's been too long since we've had him.
And he's a made man in more ways than one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. He's divinely made.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So yeah, very cool that Pastor Armando got that question right. So we'll reach out to him and let him know he won, and then again re-invite him back on the show. So very cool. So congratulations, Pastor. $25 gift card, courtesy of our buddy Jeff Haskins at deadpiratesports.com. While you're out there shopping at deadpiratesports.com at checkout, you can enter RFR10 into the checkout line as a promo code and get 10% off your order. So check out what Jeff's got going on there at deadpiratesports.com. All the Raider gear you need.
Oh my gosh, he's got such cool stuff.
Literally got all the Raider gear. In fact, I got a new flag on order. We're gonna hang up here in this.
Tell him what he said when you asked him about the logo.
Well, yeah. I told him, I said, Jeff, I got this window in my fan cave, and I want to hang the flag sideways because it gets illuminated by the daylight, and so I want to have the logo kind of hanging the wrong way on the flag. Can you do that? And he goes, brother, I can do anything you want. I can put your face on women's underwear. Thanks, Jeff. I won't need that.
Yeah, right.
You can put it sideways on a flag.
This is a family show, Jeff.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So good friend of the show, Jeff Haskins, and also good friend of the show, Pastor Armando, that won. So that is really cool. It's definitely a family affair today here on Raiders Fan Radio. Now, speaking of that, it really is a family affair, more so than just obviously us being uncle and nephew. But you got another nephew that used to be a co-host on this show.
Absolutely.
And he called in and tried to win the gift card.
We'd give him a gift card.
I know, right?
I know.
Yeah, it was Sonny. Come on, I will hook you up. But anyways, I thought it was pretty funny. So here's Sonny's message.
Murf, it's me. It's me, Sonny. Murf, I've been so damn busy that I'm sorry I haven't been there to come to the show. I hope everything's okay. Yeah, I just broke my loofah. Hey, I had to sneak in the shower to give you a call, because otherwise I got so many damn kids over here that I got made the Brady Bunch all on my own. Anyway, can I qualify for the gift card giveaway? Because I definitely know what happened on January 4th, 1981. And I didn't have to type in red and right, 88 or whatever. I had to type in on the internet and the Raiders to find out that on second down, trailing the Raiders by 2 points, the Cleveland Browns attempted to throw the ball in the end zone to get a touchdown. And then they threw the ball, but then I got intercepted, I think. Yeah, I got intercepted, and the game was over. But Cleveland was instructed to throw it away. They were instructed to throw it to Lake Erie if the guy wasn't open, but he didn't do that. So it got intercepted. You know, that thing that the Raiders didn't do all of 2016. Anyway, Murph, hey, hope all is well. I'm gonna go back and hang out with my loofah, and let me know if I get the gift card, bro. That'd be really dope. All right, thanks.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Sonny said loofah.
Loofah. He's dropping his loofah.
He's dropping his loofah. He's said the word loofah more times than anybody in our family has ever said in the history of our family. Yeah. He said it more in a minute and 12 seconds. And the funny thing is he was calling from the shower, right?
Yeah, because he had to escape his Brady Bunch of kids.
His 47 children. Yeah. That are disguised as two little boys. Yeah. And
a third.
And the third on the way. And so he does that, and the best part was that was some of the best audio quality he's ever done. and we say that we say that with all love, but
Well, he was holding the phone to his face. He wasn't turning away from it when he talks.
Yeah.
He did modulate.
It's Sonny.
Anyways, that was good to hear from Sonny.
Yeah, it was. And we're gonna have him on this season a bunch.
Well, definitely, we definitely need to get him on. Absolutely, it's been a minute since he's joined us here on Raiders Fan Radio. So, thanks to Sonny for calling in. No, you don't win the gift card, but if you're that hard up for Raider gear, we'll send you something.
Yeah, come out for Christmas. I'll give you a gift card.
There we go. All right, so Uncle Mosh. So Red Right 88. So as I mentioned, we always name our show after a player or another significant relation to a number. You love numbers.
I do.
You're
I'm a numbers
guy. We like to, we'll go back to a year. We'll go back to obviously a player number. In this case, we're actually going to a play call. So Uncle Mosh, let's settle in for a 4-minute run listening to Harry Callis, the great, legendary Harry Callis, who replaced John Facenda.
John Facenda, yeah.
And did NFL films for probably longer than Facenda did, because he did it up until the early 2000s, I think.
Yeah, for a long time.
When he passed away, so unfortunately. But so let's listen to the legendary Harry Callis tell us the story of Red Right 88.
The Raiders met the Browns in Cleveland last Sunday with a temperature a knee-knocking 1 degree above zero. With a wind chill factor of 37 below, it was the coldest postseason game in 13 years. But Oakland shirt sleeve Dave Dalby matched his California cool against the elements. Browns quarterback Brian Sipe, number 17, longed for a dry ball and unfettered fingers to catch it. Sipe was also hampered by the Mad Stork, Ted Hendricks, number 83, Oakland's 5-time All-Pro linebacker, who is enjoying his finest season. Allowed to freelance by the Oakland coaching staff, Hendricks roamed the field, discarding blockers and disrupting both the pass and the run. The Browns defense made some big plays of its own as Clarence Scott dropped Jim Plunkett on a safety blitz. But the Browns' biggest play of the day was made by cornerback Ron Bolton, number 28. His 42-yard return of a second-quarter Plunkett pass for the game's first score warmed the cockles of the hearts of the frozen faithful. The fans were grateful not only for the touchdown, but also for the chance to move around. The extra point was blocked, but the Browns led 6-0. Jim Plunkett retaliated immediately, hitting Raymond Chester to set up a touchdown that gave Oakland a 7-6 lead. With the Browns' defense denying the perimeter of the field to the Raiders' dangerous receivers, Plunkett found the middle vulnerable. Tight end Chester's 27-yard reception set up Oakland's second touchdown, scored by the man who plowed in for both Raider touchdowns, Mark Van Egan, number 30. Van Egan may be the most unpublicized back in the NFL, but he has averaged over 1,000 yards for the 4 seasons prior to this one. With Cleveland having added 2 Don Cockraw field goals, the score now stood 14-12, Oakland. The Raiders' brilliant defense meant to keep it that way. Lester Hayes made his 17th interception of the season, the all-time NFL high for 1 year. Oakland was unable to hold its breath as Cleveland mounted a late charge. The Cardiac Kids once again sent pulses skipping. Greg Pruitt caught Brian Sipe's pass with less than a minute left in the game to spur hopes of yet another miracle.
I can get another run play in after this.
With 2nd and 9 on Oakland's 13-yard line, Ratigliano and Sipe decided to go for the touchdown since the brutal weather had already nullified 3 field goal attempts. Cleveland may be a conservative city, but its coach is a gambler.
Red slot right. The red slot right. Your effects stay 88. Let's go.
Brian Sipe had pulled countless games out of the fire, but Mike Davis iced this 14-12 win for the Raiders. There was no joy in Mudville, for Mighty Casey had struck out. Another look at the game-saving play shows Sipe had sure footing and good protection. He simply threw a bad pass, something he hasn't done often, and amassing over 4,000 yards this year. Sipe
never want to
joined
hear
Joe
that.
Namath
Why
and
does
Dan
that make me
Fouts
laugh?
as the only men to reach the 4,000-yard mark. Cleveland has become synonymous with last-second victories. But Oakland has been winning Heartstoppers since the Cardiac Kids were in grade school. The Raiders, only 9-7 last year, can graduate to their third Super Bowl with a victory over the San Diego Chargers this week in the more agreeable climate of Southern California.
Wow.
Harry Callis saying he simply threw a bad pass was basically his way of saying, you suck.
Hey, so I got two good things out of that. I love the opening line, California cool.
Yeah.
I
right?
love that.
Yeah.
And then he said, warm the cockles of their hearts.
I know, right?
So, what? And you look up cockles of your heart. It says the definition for that is the depths of one's emotions or feelings.
Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh. I didn't know people in Cleveland had cockles then.
No, they didn't.
No,
the
there's-
river was on fire once.
And after 0-16, your cockles iced back over
your
again.
I hate it when my cockles get
I hate it
iced.
when ice my cockles. All right.
It happens when the wind chill's 37 below.
When you're wearing a kilt, right?
That's
and you got
right.
the updraft.
Updraft with the fan.
You get the iced cockles.
That's why you should have a captain.
Yes. So the Raiders win the game. They go on to beat the San Diego Chargers, as I mentioned, 34-27, and then beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. Uncle Mosh, my takeaway on that is, did you catch who caught the first touchdown pass for the Raiders in that game?
Absolutely.
Yes, you did, because it's on your
It's
show
on
notes.
my cheat sheet. Raymond Chester
There you
right
go.
there, number 88.
That's right, Raymond Chester, number 88. So, not only talking about Red Right 88, celebrated here on Raiders Fan Radio number 88, we're talking about Raymond Chester, the former Raiders tight end, who wore the number 88. And not only did he wear the number 88 in this game, that was the second time he had worn 88 because he played for the team twice.
Two times.
Two times.
So
he played for the Raiders for the first time. You have that on your cheat sheet? You want to tell him?
Yeah, I do. I know. I got it right here. Yeah.
Go ahead, you tell him, Mosh.
He from 1970 to 72.
There you go.
Played for the Raiders and came back in 78. Played through 81. But you know the coolest thing about Chester, and it goes without saying, with most players, everybody always they say stuff like when Al Davis drafted me. We said that last time we were on.
Uh-huh.
But Chester, he and Davis were actually really close friends until Davis died in 2011.
Absolutely.
They remained really good friends, even though Al. But Al made it pretty clear it's business. We can still be friends, but you got to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go.
Sometimes
you can
just
still
gotta
come
go.
over for a barbecue, but you got to
But
go.
you got to go. That's right. Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah, so Raymond Chester, definitely one of the legendary Raiders. He's not in the Hall of Fame, but he is a 4-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro, and of course a Super Bowl champion during this year, during the Red Right 88 year when the Raiders won Super Bowl 15. So definitely like to celebrate Mr. Raymond Chester here on Raiders Fan Radio. All right, Uncle Mosh. Time to talk some news, right?
Let's talk some news.
This is Andrew DePaula, long snapper with the Oakland Raiders. You're listening to Murf with Raiders Fan Radio. Just win, baby.
That's right, Uncle Mosh, and to all of you that are listening to us and watching us on the live on the YouTube feed, Uncle Mosh.
Oh, sorry, I was waving at the camera.
Well, no, that's okay. I did say we have news. We have for real news because you know what?
It's been a slow summer.
Slow summer, and training camp has started.
Woo-woo!
3, 2, 1, jump!
Did you get your cardio in?
Oh Man, I need a donut. Oh, no.
No, you don't. The last time you had a donut, you chased it with 27 more and ended up in the hospital.
$40,000 later.
No, we don't want. But all right, so now we're all like worked up into a lather here in the into the fan kit. Ron says, "Bust out the glow sticks." Oh my gosh, we're just excited, man. We got real. It is for real. 2018. The players have reported. The rookies have reported. The veterans have reported. The coaches are there. And Uncle Mosh, we're talking about real life Raider football and Raider news. And so the players started reporting on the 23rd, and then then the veterans followed up on the 26th. Also in the chat, Emiliano, our buddy, Big Raider Trucker, says Burning Man 2018. The only thing burning right now are my cockles because I'm all worked up into a lather. I'm worked up into a lather. The cockles of my heart.
The cockles of your heart, Bernie.
All right. Bernie. So the Raiders have reported to camp, and then they're underway. They're practicing. Cool. Couple little notes. First and foremost, the facility there in Napa where the Raiders have training camp.
Right.
It's second to none. It's gorgeous. You listen to the alumni players that have come back and joined the Raiders for training camp. We saw Daryl LaMonica this week. We saw Phil Villapiano, former guest of the show here on Raiders Fan Radio. Saw Pete Koch, some pictures with John Gruden. John Gruden breaking down the alumni team. Anyways, but all those guys in their comments have mentioned how amazing the facility is and how top-notch the facility is, that it's unlike any other team, that there's just nothing like Raiders training camp. So not only the representation of all of those fantastic Raiders legends that are in attendance at camp, but just the facility itself. And so the Raiders are to be commended on that. Absolutely. Another interesting thing, just a little tidbit here before we get into some of the audio from camp. The Raiders on day one, Uncle Mosh, handed out an 8x10.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, I saw what you posted.
8x10 with the players.
Amazing.
Amazing picture with the autographs of the players. Conspicuously absent was who, Mosh? Khalil Mack, Defensive Player of the Year.
Khalil Mack.
Yeah, you think they knew he wasn't coming?
Well, yeah.
They knew it. So no surprise there. But anyways, going in the weeds on Khalil Mack, but I just thought that was kind of interesting that
he wasn't on there. Yeah.
I mean, come on, the guy's a freaking should be. He's the best player on our football team.
It's going to happen soon, though.
It's got to happen.
I mean, I'm looking around the league, and locally, Taylor Lewan
just got a bunch of money.
Just got,
Yeah.
And so linemen.
Julio Jones.
I mean, there's just it's going to happen.
It's starting.
Yeah,
it's starting to come around. There's a big standoff right now between Aaron Donald, of course, as we've covered ad nauseum at this point. I'm sorry. Jim in the chat reminded me. Yes, former Defensive Player of the Year, not current. Yes, that's absolutely true. And thank you for calling me on that, Jim. Did I say current Defensive Player of the Year?
You did.
I did. Okay.
You did say well, you didn't say current, but you did say Defensive Player of the Year.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
and you're the host. Who am I to pick on you?
I'm the former Defensive Player of the Year. A couple of years ago, Jim. But thanks for catching me on that. All right, so Uncle Mosh, so this week, of course, a lot of press conferences going on all over the place, and we wanted to feature a few sounds of a few of those, and we're going to start off with the man in charge, Mr. John Gruden.
That was great. Been on the field obviously for the last 3 or 4 days, but it's really fun when the veterans show up and they're in shape. They know what to do. They paid the price, and I think they're together. I really like the way the team has gelled, and I was pleased with the execution for the most part on both sides. It's just awesome to be here. It's a great responsibility. I know I have a lot to prove, and I'm eager to do the best I can to do it. I like our defense. I like what we're doing on defense. Our defensive coordinator is really good. Creates a lot of problems. And Bruce Irvin's playing his natural position on an every down basis. I think he's a heck of a player. We've improved our inside pass rush. We've added a veteran presence. Some people don't like it, but I like Derek Johnson. I like Marcus Gilchrist. I like guys that know what the heck's going on. And Leon Hall, Reggie Nelson, Emmanuel Lemire, they know this defense as well as Gunther. So they're a handful, and they're going to be a problem for us for the next few weeks. I've known Cable, his body of work, for a long time. He ticked me off when he was in Atlanta with that outside zone scheme. He's very diverse as a coach. I think he's portrayed as an outside zone guy, but he ran a lot of gap schemes coming up as a coach. He's very versatile. He's a world champion coach. He has ties to this franchise. He's a natural fit, great competitor, and a hard worker. Glad to have him.
Wow. I love what he said about Cable, man.
Yeah,
I love it
cool.
when a coach gives another coach accolades, man, and shows the mutual respect. And that's something that through the players that we've been talking to and the folks, the insiders and stuff, have been saying is that the mutual respect.
Yes.
It goes all over. It goes from the top down, and that's really cool. I also like what Gruden said about I like guys that know what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Man, imagine as a coach, the less training you got to do, and you can get into the X's and O's without having, the foundations are there.
Yes.
The guys that know what the heck is going on. So let's move on to the next step. When you know that your first few steps are already in place. Oh.
Absolutely. It shortens the learning curve, right? That's what you want.
Man,
and
absolutely.
When you already have a limited amount of time with the players, why would you not bring in guys that are already automatically familiar with the system? And you're going to hear some comments from some of the other guys that kind of allude to that essentially they're acting as coaches on the field.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So again, shorten the learning curve up for the new guys. Not only do you have new players, a lot of new players coming in, but you have new systems coming in and an entire new coaching staff. Anything you can do to expedite that and make it more efficient in the transfer of knowledge, it's a no-brainer.
It's a win-win situation all the way around.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go. Next up, we have our quarterback, Derek Carr.
He just is energetic all the time, and that's just him. He is so passionate about the game of football. I don't think anyone can be mad at that. I don't think anyone can get mad at that. So when he demands from you, when he encourages you, it's in the same tone every time. So I think that's what we respect about him, is that he never changes. He's not going to be this way, and then the next day or next week or next year he's going to be this way. Like I said earlier, for 5 years he's been the same person every time I see him.
That could be a soundbite from 6 months ago.
I know,
that
right?
Could be a soundbite from last week. And Derek Carr used to get slugged on that a lot about, he's always the same. But when you're talking about something that hasn't changed, and his relationship with Gruden and Gruden's attitude and everything, it could be the same soundbite that we've heard from 100 different players and Derek Carr 100 different times.
Absolutely. And you want consistency, right? Don't you want that out of your coach? You want them to be the same, right? Whatever that is, you want it to be the same. And don't kill me for this, Raider Nation, for referring to Bill Belichick. But when you watch Bill Belichick, whether it's on the sidelines or at the podium or anywhere else, on an NFL Films interview, his demeanor is exactly the same.
Yep.
It does not matter what you ask him. It does not matter what the environment is. It doesn't matter if it's a Super Bowl or week one.
The only thing that changes for him is the length of his sleeves.
Yeah.
No, I mean, seriously.
And the amount of rings on his fingers.
And speaking of Sonny, that was one of the things that Sonny used to rail about last year during the season, was our coach last year was flip-floppy, man. He was
terrible.
all over the place.
Yes.
Half the time it was my fault. Half the time it was always, the kid's fault, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
It's like, come on, dude, where are you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sonny called him out numerous shows on that.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Great points. And so I think that consistency out of Gruden will, in turn, create consistency in Derek Carr. And if there was anything we were last year, it was inconsistent.
Sure.
All right, next up, let's listen to one of the leaders now on the defense. First time that I can recall that we've heard from the next three that we have here. And first one we're going to start off with is linebacker Derek Johnson.
I'm a veteran. I've been in the league it's my 14th year, so I'm catching up pretty fast. So today I moved around pretty good, and for me it's a mental game. So that's going up. Coach Paul Gunther has really worked with me to get up to speed, and today I was pretty impressed with running around with the young guys. So I'm up to speed. I just can't wait to put on the pads. Since this game is so mental to me now, I'm loving it. It's like being a coach on the field, and I just want to learn it just as well as Paul Gunther knows it, just so I can be a coach on the field. That's my goal.
Dang. He's been around 14 years.
14 years. Yeah, he's like 36, I think.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
God, we're old, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
And I love what he said about I want to be a coach on the field.
That's right.
I mean,
Like,
what else do you want out of a veteran?
That's it.
Yeah, oh, man.
Absolutely.
The mindset there is just outstanding.
It's just perfect. So, if he can, again, transfer that knowledge to the younger guys, and if he's got a step or two left in him, perfect. No wonder the Raiders haven't re-signed Navarro Bowman yet. I mean,
seriously.
And now, granted, Bowman's younger. I think Bowman's going to be 30 this year, so he's got a lot more left in the tank than maybe what Derek Johnson has. But as far as a leadership ability and on-field coaching ability, I mean, that's what we have now with Derek Johnson. So, and also in a long line of Chiefs that have become Raiders. And vice versa. Yeah. Right? Okay. All right. Next up, we're going to go to another new linebacker. This is so Uncle Mosh. The way to pronounce it, it's spelled Tahir, and I found the phonetic spelling of it. It's Tahir, like if you pointed at your ear, like T-A-ear. So we're going to hear from Tahir Whitehead.
He's the player's coach. He's a great guy all around, high energy guy. What you see is what you get. If you're messing up, he's going to let you know. If you're doing good, he's going to let you know. So I like that aspect about him is that, he gives you the ability to be yourself and, don't have a bunch of rules. Just, be a professional. I mean, as a player, you're going to hear me. Whether I'm out there, I'm on the defense and I'm calling plays, I'm calling out what the offense is doing, what we're doing on defense. The biggest thing is communication. When you communicate, as a whole on defense, you put yourself in the right position to go out there and execute. And then I like to have fun. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to, talk back and forth to DC and the offense. I'm going to let Gruden have it a little bit, when we're having good days, But it's all part of the game. It's competitive. And I love the game. I'm going
to let Gruden have it a little bit.
Did you love that? That was good, huh?
He said that right after he said have fun.
Yeah. I'd love hearing all those facets of the game. I mean, play hard, have fun, communicate well. Like, what else is there, right? Like, that's it. Like, this guy gets it, man. That's another perfect example of the quality of character of leadership that the Raiders have brought in to captain this defense. I think it's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, last up, we're going to hear from the rookie.
Oh, come on.
Here we go. We're going to hear from rookie left tackle Colton Miller.
It's been going really well. Going against him and Mike have really benefited me so far. I'm trying to protect or hold my craft as much as I can going against those guys, and I'm really excited for Sunday when the pads come on, because you don't really know how guys are going to be until you get those pads on, and it's just another level. So I'm really excited for that.
Wow.
What do you think, Uncle Mosh?
Hone my craft.
Love that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about making themselves better.
Yes.
They're all saying the right things. Good coaching before they got to the mics. Huh?
I know, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it was good to hear from. I think Colton Miller has done a couple interviews. Obviously, draft day, he did some stuff. Sure. But since he's been part of the Raiders, not a ton, and you don't really hear it from a ton of the players because there's not really any team functions going on, right? So first time we've got a chance to hear from a lot of these guys, and I think it's great. And I think you hit it on the head there, Mosh. My big overall takeaway from this was not only are they coached before they go take the mic, but you're hearing the right things. You're hearing the whether, granted everything's, puppy dogs and ice cream this time of year because no one's, everyone's record is 0-0. But you want to hear those things, and you want to hear the energy and the positivity and that they're having fun. Like, you want to hear from that. Maybe I'm looking back negatively, but I'm thinking about the Jack Del Rio years, a handful of years. He was kind of like, he wasn't like a real emotional leader, which is fine, but he wasn't like, he just didn't bring a lot of joy to any part of the games. Like, now granted, winning cures all. And when you're 12-4, everybody happy, right? It doesn't matter because you're winning. But aside from those, just in the typical like pressers like this, they seem to be, at least from first exposure, they seem to be having a little bit more fun than they had in the past. It's
a game. When it's all said and done, you're an adult getting to play a game and getting paid millions of dollars to do it. And if you can't enjoy yourself, I mean, the word fun, yeah, there's work that's involved with it. Maybe if we took the word fun out of it and we added the word enjoyment.
That's a good point.
Would be,
there you go. Yeah.
Because people enjoy working out. People enjoy running. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily fun, but they enjoy it. And they're getting those endorphins are getting released. They're excited. They're having a good time doing it. And that's what's been missing with our team,
Absolutely. I think that's an excellent way to put it. Is that, yeah, I mean, no matter what, it's work, right? And so, but yes, do you enjoy your work? Do you enjoy the process? Do you enjoy and that process is everything. It's working out, it's eating right, it's taking the podium, it's studying your playbook, it's getting on the field. Like, that's the process, right?
Sure.
And so do you enjoy that process? Are you going to enjoy, eating, lean protein and leafy greens every meal?
No.
Probably not. But do you enjoy what the results are from doing that? Sure.
Well, sure. The product is a result of the process, and that's what they're going for.
Absolutely. So I think it's great. Great to hear from those guys. Great, again, early stories coming out of training camp, the atmosphere of everything. I just think the overall attitude of the Raiders right now in the offseason, so far so good, right?
Absolutely.
This is Pete Koch, former Raiders, Los Angeles Raiders, that is, defensive end. And you're listening to Raiders Fan Radio.
All right, Uncle Mosh, next up here on Raiders Fan Radio, we have our listener segment, and that is what we call affectionately the Sea of Fans.
There he is, fading, looking. He's under the gun. He's tied, he throws. It is. Oh, he caught
it. All right, Uncle Mosh, you can call our show at any time at 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Leave us a message. Leave us your hot take. Leave us your family story. Leave us anything Raider-related. Heck, it doesn't even have to be Raider-related. Just call us and leave us a message. And if it's good, we'll play it here on the show. We used to play all of them, but now we have too much show, and so we've had to back off a little bit, and so we don't play nearly as many as we used to, but I promise you, we still always get the good ones on. And we have some repeat offenders. And so if you call the show 3 times and you get played on the show, we call you a made man here on Murph's Fan Cave here on Raiders Fan Radio. And so one of the first made men we're going to get to also happens to be one of the guys that's in the chat, and he just said, Mosh, I quote, "Your logo looks like Santa on a 3-day binge after the holidays."
Oh! Actually, I've been playing Santa for about the last 40 years, and I've been known to do a 3-day binge.
So that comes,
and I never looked this good.
So that comes courtesy of our buddy Emiliano, also known as Big Raider Trucker.
What's going on? The man, the myth, the legend, Big Raider Trucker, here checking in once again with you guys. First of all, we just received the devastating news this morning of Coach Tony Sperano. I want to say rest in peace, Coach. You were there when we were nothing. Just want to say Raider in peace, brother. All right, also wanted to call and talk about the topic of Pop and Coach Tom Flores leaving the radio broadcasting. I don't know if it's just me or is it kind of like we're taking on the new role of an expansion team? I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful to the Raider Nation, but it kind of feels that way, coming in with picking up more nationwide recognizable people, such as, well, I can't think of his name now, but I know him from calling the Ohio State games. And I think it's just a big contradiction. We're going to let go of Tom and Pop and bring in Lincoln Kennedy. It's like we're bringing in new but getting rid of the old, but we're trying to become new again. I know it sounds really confusing. I mean, we're moving to Vegas trying to wipe away the old Raider Nation, not necessarily trying to wipe away, but then we bring back Chucky. So it's like, okay, are we living in the now or are we living in the then? It's just really confusing right now, guys. I want to get your take on it. Hope everyone's doing good. Training camp about to start. Raider Nation, stay strong. From the womb to the tomb, baby. I'm out.
Great as always. Thank you, Big Raider Trucker, for the call. So he covered a lot there. First off, yes, rest in peace, Tony Sperano. Man, he took us through. That was a tough time in Raider Nation. I mean, that was an 0-10 football team before they finally won a game. Most famous for burying the football.
Absolutely.
You know, and he was, you know, kind of criticized at that time. But I think looking back on it, especially in his passing, I think that was a, you know, when you have those kinds of challenges, sometimes, and I learned this from a very famous coach who I'm sitting next to right now. Sometimes you got to shake it up. You know, I remember one time, and I've coached. For those of you who don't know, Uncle Mosh is a career coach. He's coached numerous sports. I coached Little League baseball and football and wrestling myself for many, many years. And I learned a lot from you. And I learned a lot from my coaching techniques and things from you. And I'll never forget one time I had an 8-year-old baseball team, coach pitch baseball team, and it was not going well. The season was not going well. The kids were in a funk. They were, you know, we were losing. It just wasn't going well. And frankly, those kids weren't accustomed to it because they had a lot of success in that same team. I'd coached those boys since they were 4 years old. We were just in a funk. And I remember asking you, what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. And you said, break the pattern. You said, do something crazy. Do something, have them blow up water balloons and throw them at each other. Have a shaving cream fight. Do something
outside the box.
Outside the box. Do something different to break the cycle that you're in. And you know what? Sure enough, we had a donut, oddly enough, no pun intended. We had a donut eating contest. I had the kids saying Yogi Berra quotes with donuts stuffed in their mouths. But it broke the cycle. Like, they had no idea that it was going to go on when they got there. And not only did we do that, we did other fun things with water balloons and whatnot. But the point is, though, it changed and it worked. It changed the spirit of the team. And that's what Tony Sperano was doing. He was changing the spirit. They were in a funk. They lost 4 games in a row. The head coach just got fired. Everybody was out of their element. They had a rookie quarterback. So he took a shot and did something that was different. And, you know, you could say it worked or didn't work, didn't matter. At the end of the day, it changed the mindset of the football team. And that's what the goal of that was, right?
And that's exactly what he wanted to do. You know, if you listen to his speech, I think you and Mikey played that.
Yes, we sure did.
And he talked about, okay, I'm putting this ball in, I'm throwing some dirt on it. That dirt represents those last 4 games. Who else has got some dirt they want to throw down? You know? And he put the ball, for lack of better term, he put the ball in their court. He said, who else wants to throw something in there? You know? Who else got something they got to get rid of or get buried?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
I think he did a lot. And, the legacy that you leave behind, is really what defines you, the impact that you've had on people. And everyone has spoken so fondly of Coach Spo, they call him. Everyone has spoken so fondly of him, former Raiders and anybody else that this is the guy that engineered the freaking Wildcat for the Dolphins to finally beat the Patriots. I mean, so anybody that played for him back then or any of his other coaching jobs has spoken fondly of the man and defined him by his influence on their lives, not his influence on them necessarily as players. And so anyways.
Hey, but getting back to what Big Raider Trucker said. Yes. So, one of the things that he talked about was, are we trying to get rid of the old and bring back the new? And are we trying to, and I know it's a little confusing, but some of the things that I don't think it's that deep. You look at Flores is 81 years old. Okay. Musburger's 79. So it's not an age thing. They could have gone to school together. Papa's only 55. Papa's younger than I am.
Yeah.
So it's not that. I think, and I don't know that it's maybe it's a little bit of shaking up the net, but it's just like, you don't, a lot of times you don't bring your old curtains to put in your new house.
Right. Yeah.
Even though you love those curtains, they match your couch.
Nice curtains.
They are nice curtains.
Yes. Nice curtains.
But so,
it makes sense. And so, I'm sure everybody is, well, maybe not. I don't know. If you listen, Papa was on vacation for 3 weeks during the time he got fired. And he didn't come out and say what happened until this last week. He was on 95.7 The Game, where he hosts an afternoon show. And he came on and basically told the story. And the story, and I'll keep it brief, he opposed Mark Davis is entertaining the idea of bringing Mike Shanahan back.
Correct.
Or not back. Well, yeah, back. Al Davis fired him, on short notice. I forget what year it was. Somebody fact check me on that. But he fired Shanahan, and Shanahan went on to then coach the Broncos, and Shanahan was no longer welcome to the team. There were 3 people Al Davis hated until he took the grave, and that was Pete Rozelle, Mike Shanahan, and Marcus Allen, right?
Right.
And so Papa, knowing this, essentially was defending in his mind Al Davis's honor and request by speaking out against Mark Davis, even considering hiring Mike Shanahan as the coach of the Raiders. And this was the time back when Sperano was our interim coach. That's when these discussions went on. Those discussions between Papa and Mark, or Papa and anybody else criticizing Mark's interviewing, that's ultimately what led to his dismissal 2 years later. He was at that point, they were starting to throttle back his involvement with the team. He wasn't doing the Silver and Black show anymore on Raiders.com. He wasn't doing the simulcasts. They started pulling back from Papa, and then finally, ultimately, it got to this point to where he was let go. Now, we're going to talk a lot about this in a minute, but since we're in the middle of it, I have some audio on when Brent Musburger got hired. Raiders Fan Radio microphones were there. Credit, oh man, I don't have it. It's Vince. It's not Pazienza. It's Spazienza. Oh my gosh. He's Fox 5 in Las Vegas. The anchor down there. I think it's Spazienzo. Shame on me. Good Italian name, and I'm butchering it up. But anyways, Vince was on a face chat with Musburger when Musburger told the story about when he got hired. This is it. This is real.
I was at a Golden Knight game, and I was with Mr. Mark Davis, the owner of the team. I was introducing him to Derek Stevens, who owns the D downtown. Derek had never met Mark. And as we stood there and the conversation was winding down with Derek, Mark looked over at me and said, "Would you be interested in doing play-by-play for the Raiders?" And I didn't know whether it was a serious conversation or not, Vince, but I said, "Sure, give me a call, we'll talk about it." And I later had some conversations with him and Mark Bedane, the president of the Raiders, and one thing led to another, and I had signed up.
So it cuts off there, and his video cuts off. That's not me cutting off that audio. So there you go. That's straight from Brent Musburger. So Mark Davis knew he had this going on, bumps into Musburger at a Golden Knights game down there in Vegas, and Musburger's Mr. Vegas, man, and asked him if he wanted to be and I'm sure that once he got that commitment from Brent, then started the process of dismissing Greg Papa. So, and again, we're going to get to a lot more of this later, so I want to save a little bit of that conversation. But there you have it, Uncle Mosh. There it is. And one last thing I'll say on it before we get on to the next call, get to Ron. Well, there, I just sold the lead there on who we're getting to next. Before we get to the next call, having Flores leave, gosh bless Tom Flores, man. Won 2 Super Bowls, and it's a shame the man's not in the Hall of Fame. It's a shame that he's not held in the same regard as other 2-time Super Bowl winning champs. But as an announcer, when you're 81, and he was kind of getting, up there a little bit. We all, should be so blessed to make it to 81, but he was kind of losing it a little bit. I don't want to say lose it. That's not fair. It just wasn't, his broadcasting capability was not as.
Look what the guy has done. He's only the second player to ever win a Super Bowl and coach a Super Bowl, and behind who?
Ditka.
Ditka.
Yeah.
But he was also assistant coach. Also.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was
teaching me something. For who?
For the Raiders. He was an assistant.
Really?
He was an assistant.
Oh, was he a quarterback
coach? He was
coach?
A player, and he was an assistant coach, and he was the head coach, plus the first Hispanic head coach, first minority head coach, and first to win a Super Bowl.
Yes.
The guy has got some accomplishments. It's not going to break his heart at 81 years old. You know what I'm saying? The he's going to get the Hall of Fame. I mean,
I hope so.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I mean, so sad that coach isn't going to get that he's moving on. But Lincoln Kennedy's great. That's
absolutely.
And Musburger's going to be great. So, and again, we'll get to plenty of that.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and get to the next call. Let's hear from our buddy Ron in Ohio.
Murf Mosh, what's up? It's Ron.
What's up?
Start off saying congrats for your new venture you got going on Mondays, Murf. Sounds pretty cool. Touch on the Papa thing real quick. The man definitely left a legacy, but it seemed inevitable with the Vegas move. So I think the best way to handle that is just honor the past. Think of all those great calls that he had for us and appreciate them. And I'm kind of excited for Lincoln Kennedy to get a shot. Be cool to see what he can do in the booth. And then as this is the last call of the off season, I'd like to go ahead and get way deep in the weeds on some football. Quarterback is the most important position on the field, and I would argue one of the most important things that a quarterback can have is in-game experience. So I kind of went through and looked at the quarterbacks we'd be facing this year. And as it stands right now, we'll have 6 opponents that have quarterbacks with less game experience than Carr. Keenum twice, Mahomes twice, Goff and Garoppolo. But what I think kind of gets interesting there is we also play Luck, Bradford, Flacco, and Tyrod Taylor, who may or may not be there. I would say it'd be half those guys easy may not be the starting quarterback by the time we play them. So that puts us between 6 and 10 games with relatively inexperienced quarterbacks. And for a team that had a defense that really struggled last year, and a team that's now got a legitimate defensive coordinator and some new tools to play with, I think that could be a huge difference this year. I know that's a lot of ifs, but, man, it's kind of nice not to have murderer's row of quarterbacks. It seems pretty favorable to us. So anyway, I hope everything's going well for you guys and you're enjoying the off season, and hopefully we can get ready. And man, that visit to Ricky's had me pumped up and ready to go. So hopefully we have a good season, guys. Bye.
All right, thank you, Ron, for calling the show. As always, thank you for supporting Raiders Fan Radio. So a couple things there. Uncle Mosh, I want to start off with thank you for the well wishes on the Monday show. That's with Mikey. Something I hadn't mentioned that I probably should have is that if you're looking for the Raider news stuff, that's pretty much all Mikey and I do. It is very topical. It is very current. We're not doing, the history of the Raiders, the concept of the Raiders, more the broader stuff that Mosh and I do as fans. That's the stuff that if you want to get the day-to-day news, the very up-to-the-minute reaction and response type stuff, that's where you'll find that. That's all that Monday with Mikey.
And any conspiracy theory that you think maybe, you guys may even go into the magic bullet before it's over.
Back and to the left.
Back and to the left.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin Costner.
Yeah, well, Kevin Costner.
I mean,
I was talking about Jim Plunkett in 1982. Actually, I should have said Stabler.
Yeah.
Oh,
man. Maybe we can cut that out and redo it.
Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, ready? I wasn't talking about Kevin Costner. I was talking about Kenny Stabler.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah. And Phil Mickelson.
Yeah.
Back into the left.
Only when he's in the buffet line.
Hello.
Oh.
All right. So, so definitely check out the Mondays with Mikey and Murph show. We'll show up on your feed here, and then definitely see it on YouTube, and that's where all the hard-hitting news and analysis will occur. All right. So, interesting, Ron. Thank you for getting the weeds on football, man. That's awesome. That's excellent research, and I'm with you. And as far as the needing help on defense, right? So nothing is going to help our defense more than inexperienced quarterbacks. And so, we had a challenge with turnovers. All right, we had a challenge last year. We only threw the Raiders only intercepted the ball 4 times. And one of those was Navarro Bowman, the first one of the year when he was laying on his back in the end zone. The ball fell into his belly. 2 of those were from Sean Smith in the same game. And then I think the other one was Reggie Nelson on like a tipped pass. So that's pretty bad if I can remember off the top of my head all of the interceptions for an entire season.
Right.
So nothing will help that initiative more for the Raiders in 2018 than some young quarterbacks making some bad decisions. So hopefully, I'm with you, Ron. That's definitely what we will see.
Well, and speaking of inexperienced quarterbacks, what did Sonny say when he called in about how was the play designed that we were talking about? The ball was supposed to be thrown away.
Oh, yeah, in Red Right 88.
In Red Right 88,
He told him if it's not there, throw it into Lake Erie.
Throw it into Lake Erie, exactly. And what did the inexperienced quarterback do?
Throw it right to Mike Davis.
Thank you. Yeah, we hope to be capitalizing on a whole lot of that this year.
Absolutely.
We are Metallica, and we are here for your Oakland Raiders!
You know why we out here, and we ain't playing around today.
From The Walking Dead
to errant Jedi Knights, Raiders fans are a rogues gallery.
Love the Joker,
That's
man.
the best.
It's the best. God bless Heath Ledger. Rest in peace. All right, so okay. So here's what the next segment we got, Mosh. We got this Greg Papa, Brent Musburger thing. Now listen, Mikey and I, as you mentioned, we talked at length about the Greg Papa side of this, and that's been the majority of the conversation around this. Is Ron in the chat just says that laugh comes right from the cockles. Well played, Ron. All right, so we talked a lot about the Papa side of it, but very few people are talking about the Musburger side of this thing. The Musburger side of this, unfortunately, is being overshadowed by the fact that we're losing the legendary Greg Papa. Now, Mosh, Brent Musburger has called some of the most famous games and events of all time. We're talking about a guy that's done numerous college basketball games. This is the guy that did the Flutie pass into the end zone, Boston College against Miami, right? He has done numerous things. Now,
the Masters,
he's done so many things. So many things. So also, he was a very famous studio host for CBS for many, many years. During his time as a studio host for CBS, they had the Super Bowl. And don't you know, one of the last times that Brent Musburger was the host for a Super Bowl was in Super Bowl 18, January 24th, 1984, when the Los Angeles Raiders then won their third Super Bowl. Now, one of the jobs of the studio host, much like you see Dan Patrick now,
right,
is being the guy that stands between the commissioner and the owner and hands them and introduces them the Lombardi Trophy.
And that year, they would have needed security.
That's right.
But there was 4 people on the podium.
And those 4 people were?
We've talked about all of them other than Pete.
That's exactly right. So we're talking about the legendary coach Tom Flores. We're talking about legendary owner Al Davis. We're talking about Pete Rozelle, the commissioner of the NFL at the time.
And between those two
was Brent Musburger.
We are inside the locker room and Al Davis embracing Tom Flores. This is the first time they have met since the victory. Al, congratulations.
Just win, baby. Al, well, I just want to say 2 years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future. And with all the great teams we've had, I think today that this organization, this team, this coaching staff dominated so decisively that 2 things must be said. Not only, in my opinion, are you the greatest Raider team of all time, I think you rank with the great teams of all time that have ever played any professional sport. Tom Flores isn't just a great coach in our league, with all due respect to the commissioner. He's one of the great coaches of all time. And the coaching staff, the organization, and I want to say one thing to the fans and the great players who wore the silver and the black in the past all over the country. And I want to pay tribute to my partner, Ed McGaw, who died this winter. Again, you were magnificent, you dominated. And I love all of you, and you know that. And thanks a lot.
Al, thank you very much. Excellent job. Al, let me ask you something. With all the distractions that you have off the field, how are you able to keep focused on winning football games as you do and do throughout the years?
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to bring your coach in. Congratulations. Tom Flores, this was one of the finest prepared football teams I have ever seen. You went right to work after beating Seattle. You kept your eye on Washington all the way. This whole organization was so confident when I was around.
Well, this is such a great group of guys, and
we just go out and do our job. We don't pay attention to what is said about us. We don't pay attention to all the hoopla and the distractions or whatever. We have a job to do, and we get it done, and it's just been tremendous.
All right, Tom, again, congratulations. And when we come back here to the winner's locker room, we will have the most valuable player, Marcus Allen. We'll take a look at his 2 touchdowns, and we'll be back with more post-game activities after this commercial and a word from your local stations.
The handshake with Al. We watched this on video.
Yes.
The handshake with Al and Roselle.
A little frosty.
It was a little frosty.
A little frosty.
Yeah.
How about when Al says, "With all due respect to the commissioner," which is basically his way of saying "F-U-P."
Yeah.
But hey, here's what I want to say though about this, Mosh, is that first off, Tom Flores was the first coach to say we had a job to do. Thanks, Bill Belichick. You can thank Tom Flores for that one.
Absolutely.
For doing your job. But man, Brent Musburger was responsible for eliciting one of the most famous lines in Raiders history.
Yep.
Getting the "just win, baby" speech out of Al Davis.
Yeah.
If you don't have any respect for Brent Musburger before this, you better now after hearing that, because he is responsible for essentially what the foundation of Raider Nation is, which is that. You great coaches, great players, great organization, just win, baby. That's it. Brent's the one that got that response out of Al.
Yeah, he threw the fat one to him, and Al knocked it out of the park with that, baby. Yeah. And you're right. Tom did say that. He said, we don't pay attention to what's being said about us. We just do our job.
We just do our
job.
And who set him up with that question?
Yeah, Brent.
Brent freaking Musburger, man.
Yep, absolutely. I do love how Al kept trying to grab the mic. Yeah. He kept trying to. They gave Tom his own mic, but Brent was holding the mic, and Al even went at one time with a 2-handed grab there, and Brent wasn't letting go.
He wouldn't let go.
And look at the foreshadowing. Here we go. How many years later? And now, Flores is kind of passing the mantle to Brent
Musburger.
You know
what? I didn't even think of that angle.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that angle.
Brent handed him the trophy, and now Tom's passing the mic back
over to him. I didn't even think about that angle. Good one, Mosh.
Oh, yeah. Mikey will use that on Monday.
Oh, that'll be a conspiracy. Yeah, that'll be a conspiracy. Hey, but you never surrender the mic. If you listen to Dan Patrick, he always says that you hang on to that microphone.
Forever.
He said whenever they'll get up there with an owner that's given their speech after the winning a Super Bowl, he said, you will have a death grip on that microphone, and there'll be producers in your ear saying, "Don't give up the mic. Don't give up the mic. Don't give up the mic." So, yeah, definitely Brent Musburger did not give up the mic until now, as Uncle Mosh so eloquently pointed out, that he is giving up the virtual mic, and now Brent Musburger is taking on the responsibilities of announcing the Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders radio broadcast. So, good luck to Brent in that venture. We're going to look forward to hearing him. And, Mosh, that wasn't the most famous Brent Musburger call. That was probably our favorite, but I want to rewind the clock back and listen. Then we want to treat this with the amount of respect and due. What am I trying to say?
Well, there's accolades that go to Brent for what he's done for the Raider Nation, but for the game itself, even at the collegiate level, Brent was a trendsetter. He went ahead. He did some stuff that it just gets pushed to the side. Folks don't remember the outstanding Pulitzer Prize winning work, if I might. There's stuff that he's done that's those of us behind the mics that we can only just aspire to attain to that level.
Absolutely.
And it's November 6th.
November 6th.
1998.
20-year anniversary this year.
It's crazy.
It is.
That should be our next trivia question, but we're going to talk about it right now. I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Me too. And
it's
crazy. Of course, we're talking about the infamous Bourbon Bowl from 1998 when Bobby Boucher showed up at halftime and helped the SC LSU Mud Dogs win that. I'm trying to get choked up here.
I think the only thing that's been close to that was in 2005 in the Incarceration League playoffs when Paul Crew came back to win the game.
Beautiful. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
And that was Mean Machine.
He favored Paul Crewe favored Bobby Boucher a little bit.
Like Bobby Boucher. Yeah. That's right. And so, so those Mud Dogs, they were down 27 nothing at halftime. Came back. Of course, they were facing off against
undefeated
Louisiana Cougars at the time, and ended up winning that game 27-30. In which case, obviously Bobby Boucher won the MVP, and so Brent was there. Brent with Dan Fouts joined him in the booth, and some announcers just have a way to really display the action on the field, and so let's just get to it. Let's just get to a few of the clips here. There's a lot of clips I was able to pull from this game. Well, let's just start off with the intro.
Here we go.
Welcome to ABC's coverage of the Bourbon Bowl. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger, along with my colleague Dan Fouts. And the big story here, Dan, is a game that's lost some of its luster without its star player, the water boy, Bobby Boucher.
So there you go. So it starts off, and of course, those Louisiana Cougars got off to, of course, coached under the legendary Red Beaulieu, got off to a hot start.
We are underway. The opening kickoff is a beauty. But Holdsworth is going to bring it out from 9 yards deep. Come on. Dan, they're showing no respect for this team without Boucher. Good reason, Brent. 109 yards untouched. Touchdown, Cougars. They strike first.
Holdsworth could have ran 209 yards on that play.
Absolutely, with no Boucher on the defense.
And you could hear it in Brent's voice. He was thinking to himself, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is going to be a blowout."
But you could still see. You could almost see the field.
Yeah,
he's so descript. And let's go to one more play here before they get to halftime.
Oh, Dan, that quarterback can't even get the ball off before he's hit.
Brent, it's as if they're in the offensive huddle with him.
That's the end of the half. The Cougars are dominating. Let's hope the Mud Dogs can make some adjustments.
His attempt.
They better because they suck.
That was supposed to be off the air.
That was supposed to be off air.
That was one of Fouts' big ones. He got nailed for that, too.
He sure did. And that just shows you the versatility, and really the professionalism of Brent Musburger to be able to handle that in the face of adversity. You've already got a nothing game. Of course, it's nationally televised. The world is watching. But nationally televised, the world is watching. Nationally televised, I know, right? The country is watching. It's probably being broadcast around the world. But anyways, so he knows he's being watched. And so to have then somebody like Fouts, who we don't like to begin with, to take an unprofessional stance like that and refer to their team as sucking?
Yeah, to drop the ball like that. And Brent didn't jump on him. He just glassed right over it like a pro would do.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead. So they move through halftime. Really not much is going on until, of course, Bobby Boucher returns to the stadium.
In a dramatic turn of events, Bobby Boucher just arrived at halftime.
And on a fan boat, Brent. His mother drove him right into the stadium.
This could be the start of some high drama, folks. Or are the Mud Dogs too far behind? Bobby Boucher is on defense. The Cougars are coming out from their own 20-yard line. The pitch, it's a reverse. Boucher's not forward. The ball, Robidoux got it. Touchdown,
Boy, Boucher knocked the poop out of him.
Who? So they're good. Dan, we're talking about poop? Knocking the poop out of players?
Dan, there's not a lot of Dan Fouts highlights, but there sure is a lot of lowlights.
A lot of lowlights, especially in his playing career. So then, so of course, Red Beaulieu then famously, he just starts taking a knee. The University of Louisiana has a big lead, so they just decide that with the return of Boucher, they weren't gonna, they weren't going to.
They were going to keep their offense on the field. Just take him out of the game.
Take him out of the game. And so, of course, and there's a lot of clips from this. We'll just go ahead and we'll skip over those. Just know that, though, that the team just started taking a knee. And, again, with the most eloquent position and professionalism, Brent just kind of took it in stride and was still very descriptive of the action on the field.
Called what he saw, kept his personal feelings out of it.
That's exactly right. And then sorry, don't break. Don't crack under pressure, Murf. All right, so then – but then Mr. Coach Klein, really a man who was not known to be innovative with his offense, finally decided to counter Red's taking of the knee, and he put Boucher in on offense.
Yeah, now, before you play that next clip, there's a Raider connection here.
What?
What did he do? He put Boucher in where?
On offense.
On offense. And who did Boucher hit like? One of our all-time favorites?
Probably like, I don't know, one of the Soul Patrol, George Atkinson or something?
Yes, George Atkinson, who played both ways and at one time played all three ways for the Raiders. He was a long snapper. He returned punts and kickoffs. And, hey, the Soul Patrol, baby. Awesome. There's a Raider connection there. Bobby Boucher hit like Atkinson, but could also play offense.
Snap to Greenwald. A reverse. No, it's a double reverse. Oh, what a block. And Bouguet springs free. Trouble. Lateral. Got him. What a play. Greenwald to the 15, the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Mud Dogs.
Well. I guess Coach Klein does have a few tricks up his sleeve after all.
All right, there you go. So the Mud Dogs, then they score. Boucher stays in. They actually, after that double reverse, they score again. They tie up the game and then attempt an onside kick.
The Mud Dogs need the ball back if they're going to have a shot at overtime. And Bobby Boucher is now on the kickoff team.
Last game of the year, Brent. Can't hold anything back now.
I know. Remember, the ball must travel 10 yards. It's loose. Mud Dogs football. Mud Dogs football.
Mama, I got the football. I got it.
Oh, what a vicious hit. That was a cheap shot.
Oh, Boucher, cheap. First off, amazing play. First off, amazing call by Brent. The Mud Dogs recover, but then, as you know, famously take a cheap shot and take Boucher out of the game.
And he, and I'll give it to Brent. He could have called it a lot worse than he did, but he said the truth. It was a cheap shot.
It was a cheap shot. And the only thing that was able to bring Boucher back was, of course, as we know, some high-quality H2O. And, so they take the field, and they were able to, of course, score the winning touchdown. And just so bravely calling at this point by Musburger, considering the trials that he's been through calling this football game.
The water boy just needed some water.
Wow, Dan. You think that up all by yourself?
Shut up, Brent.
There'll be no tie here today. Coach Klein is sending his offense back onto the field. He's going for the win right now.
Yeah, this is a real gutsy call, Brent. You'll either be a hero or a goat because of this.
And Dan, Bobby Boucher is back on the field. He is now playing offense. We know. Touchdown! The Mud Dogs win it. Bobby Boucher's the hero. He's gone from Waterboy Dan to Savior.
And it's because he didn't hold anything back.
Well, Swanee's down on the field with our hero, so let's go to Lynn now.
No, we're not going to go to Lynn Swan because he's a Steeler and we hate him. But how about that call by Musburger on the final touchdown, Mosh?
Unbelievable. And, a little side note into the weeds a little bit. No one before in the history of broadcast journalism has ever said before or after, shut up, Brent.
Shut up, Brent.
You won't hear that. You won't hear that on Raiders football.
You won't hear that. You definitely won't hear that from Lincoln Kennedy. You won't hear him refer nor address Brent Musburger, the legendary Brent Musburger, in that way. So, anyways, we just want to celebrate the achievements of Brent Musburger. We want to celebrate his contribution to all of football, all of collegiate sports. Just an amazing legend, and we hope that you hung in there with us that long through that joke.
You're listening to The Violator, and I'm live on Raider Fan Radio. Where you at, baby?
You know what's funny?
We went a long way for that one.
We did go a long way for that one, and so it is kind of fun that Len Swan was in that movie, and he was the sideline reporter, and it was Atkinson that smashed Swan.
Yeah, remember?
And then
absolutely.
It ended up to a big lawsuit, because
did it really?
Chuck Knoll called Atkinson part of the criminal element in football,
I remember that, yeah.
and Atkinson filed a $2 million lawsuit against him.
Did he really?
Defamation of character. Yeah.
No kidding.
And, of course, he went to court and all that, and Atkinson ended up losing. But it was just – I thought it was kind of funny. If they really would have been on the, thinking about things, they might have had Atkinson in there, but there was no love loss. They would have never – yeah.
Going all 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here with
I
the
know,
Brent Musburger
right,
thing.
right.
Anyways, well, good. Well, thank you to you that have joined us so far here on the show. I want to give a shout out to a couple of folks that are joining us here on the chat, on the YouTube feed, Greg and Matthew and Ramon, and of course Emiliano and Ron, and lots of folks joining us. I'm sorry if I missed you there, but a couple of people jumping in saying they've joined us for the first time. So welcome to Raiders Fan Radio, and I promise you it's not all lengthy Waterboy jokes here on the show.
Yeah, but Captain Insano knows no mercy. Oh, actually, Captain Insano shows no mercy.
That's okay.
I got too excited.
Do it again, Mosh.
Captain Insano shows no mercy.
That's high quality H2O. All right, good job, Mosh. I should have had you on camera for that, but well, that's all right.
All right.
You got a third one in you?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Okay,
yeah.
Okay, ready? Okay, your motivation is the YouTube audience.
No. I'm supposed to picture someone.
Oh, okay, picture someone. Oh yeah. Picture a laughing baby.
Captain Insano shows no mercy.
Jeez. Oh my gosh. Blowing out my eardrums over here. I feel bad for all the people that have their earbuds in right now. Yeah.
I got excited.
Anyway, so thank you for joining us here on the show. All right, so those of you on the YouTube feed, we have an interview this week with Scotland's David Love. David is a UK Raiders fan. He's one of our listeners. He's a super, super great guy. And, man, I just wanted to hear the perspective of somebody that roots for the Raiders. And not only you talk about out of market, the guy lives in northern Scotland. There is no more out of market for not only American football, but the Raiders.
But how cool is that?
It's amazing.
That is so awesome.
And I don't want to steal any of his thunder, so I'll let y'all hear the interview. But he talks about what he used to do as a kid in order to hear Raider games. You think you got it rough getting some information about your favorite football team? This guy is like tapping into Armed Forces Radio like garbled feeds. Like I'm like the corner of one corner of his room in his house. It's amazing. So again, I don't want to steal any of his thunder. Those of you on the YouTube feed, you won't hear it. It's a 30-minute interview, so we're not going to play it for you. We'll just kind of take a little bit of a minute break, and then. But those of you on the podcast, here is the interview that we had with David Love from Scotland. All right, Uncle Mosh, there's our interview with David Love. So, man, again, the guy is such a dedicated fan. The things that he had to do in order to get the Raiders as a kid, you know, he's scrapping for any kind of article or any story written. What I thought was really neat was the way that he described being in the corner of a room and listening for an Armed Forces radio feed and not even knowing if he was going to get a Raider game. Until the last second. He was like, if he did get the Raider game, it was, you know, obviously he was tickled, but if he didn't get it, he was still gonna listen to the broadcast. So, you know, the Raiders are playing over there this year. They're playing in London. He's going to try to get a ticket to the game. Again, just the dedication of him as a fan.
Man, I hope he sends us some pics. That would be great to put up on our website, some pics of him at the Raiders.
Absolutely. Well, and actually, he just bought one of your shirts. So what would be really cool if we got a picture of David, if he's able to get tickets to the game, if he's not, even just him somewhere overseas representing Raiders Fan Radio, wearing one of the Raiders Fan Radio
in a kilt.
Well, that's what he said. He was going to try to wear a kilt to the game. That would be amazing. That would be so cool. So David definitely sent us pictures of wearing your Raiders Fan Radio T-shirt. Thank you for representing Raider Nation so proudly over there in the UK. And no pressure on you, but going forward, you're representing your entire country and the entire region because you're the Raider fan that we know over there. So from now on, you are Scotland's David Love.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, Uncle Mosh. Well, that is... Gosh, marathon show. Of course, we first time back after being out for a while. We're gonna skip the return to excellence this week. We'll get it up for you later on. I'll put them up on our. I know I'm kind of slacking on our YouTube channel with posting those up there, but I'll get the one for this week, which is when the Raiders took on the Jets. But we're just kind of running out of time here, so we'll go ahead and post that up there for you. So that's gonna do it for us for this week.
Gonna do it
for episode number 88. Thank you so much to those of you that have watched us live in the chat. Thanks to those of you that have downloaded our show. Please subscribe. subscribe and support Raiders Fan Radio in that way. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Google Play, anywhere you can find a podcast. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, give us a review if you feel so inclined. We like the good ones, but we'll take any reviews of the show, of course. Find us on Twitter at Raiders Fan Radio. You can find me on Twitter at _Murf. You can find Uncle Mosh on Twitter.
Don't ask me what my address is. Ask Murf.
It's Uncle _ Mosh. You can find him there.
Oh, yeah.
And we both have Facebooks and we have Instagram. We
got all that good stuff.
You could Google Raiders Fan Radio and find us pretty much anywhere. Here's one last little announcement I'll leave it with. I finally got the confirmation, Uncle Mosh. I'm going to be attending the Week 1 game this year, so I'm gonna be out there on the West Coast for some unrelated things, and was able to work in a trip to the Raider game. So Week 1, Monday Night Football. Yours truly, I'll be there, and I've been talking to the Pillaging Podcast guys, and I think we're going to link up and record some stuff and have some other things firsthand to share from the Week 1 game against the Rams. So definitely looking forward to that, and not only representing Raider Nation, but representing us, representing Raiders Fan Radio.
That's so cool.
There. And so any of you that are going to be out there at the game Week 1, definitely hit me up, and we'll link up there. Like I said, we're going to do some recording, and
you'll let them know where you're going to be and all that as we get closer.
And I'll have the mobile. They're going to make it sound fancy. We're going to have the mobile recording studio set up, which consists of my iPad and 2 microphones. But it actually does a pretty good job. We did it last year, Week 1 at the Tennessee Titans here in Nashville at the Tennessee Titans when the Raiders played the Titans, and it worked well.
So, we had a blast.
So that's how we're going to broadcast live once again. Is we're going to use the mobile recording studio. So definitely hit me up and let's link up while we're out there for the game. So thank you again to those of you that have joined us here for the show. Uncle Mosh, you got anything for us before we stick a fork in this one?
Other than Captain Insano shows no mercy, I'm good to go.
I think that's a perfect tagline. Thanks for joining us here on Raiders Fan Radio.